Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Saturday. Just wanted to say thank you for being patient to get a little bit more information out to you. We have all this going to be loaded in our Patreon.com with /militiaman and crew, just so you know that. Our vibrant Discord chat room is there available for everybody. Obviously, you guys all are aware that our Super Samson and our mods, Gigi and Greg, and some of the analysis comes from Petra and Poppy Peter, etc. We always have Brian's place, good spiritual component pretty much almost every day. And probably on my bad that I might miss it once in a while, but hey, it's phenomenal help that everybody gives. I want to say thank you to the whole team, and I want to say thank you to you all to the Patreons that were are in our Discord room too, in our forum. Thank you very much for being with us. Baghdad and Erbil reach appropriate solutions where 70,000 signatures in Soleimani are rejecting my account. So they're not too happy about having to have a bank account. And why? Because a lot of people in the country, they'd like to use cash. It says that we were able to collect 70,000 signatures in Soleimani only, and we finished collecting the signatures, and all of them reject the regional government's account project. When they go on to say that it's indicating that it would distribute March's salaries before Eid al-Fitr. Well, most of these people don't realize is that 220,000 employees, if you will, they need to have a bank account. And I got a strong feeling that if you don't have a bank account, you're going to have to get one, whether you like it or not. But I don't know that to be sure, but they're suggesting they're rejecting it. But then again, 70,000 people, or those 70,000 signatures might be enough to get you interested and get you onto the docket, if you will. Will it be effective? I have a feeling that's probably not going to be the case. Because the new electronic systems, whether you're talking about the IQD system or e-government, at all ministries, it's what? They're going less cash. That's what they're doing. So, the Sudanese directs to reject or delay the development road project. Well, al-Sudani is basically stating to everybody that, hey, I'm not going to tolerate delays. So we go on to say that the Prime Minister chaired his 6th meeting of the Supreme Committee for the Development Road, during which the latest executive steps, remember, executive, keyword, legislative, those are keywords. When you see that means it's they have authority. Those are the big boys talking about this. The Ministerial Council of Economics, for instance, they're the ones that are running the show right now, and they have been since al-Sudani took office back in October of 2022. And his achievements, he's going to be known for a lot of achievements for a long period of time. He says that these executive steps are ways to resolve controls and instructions related to customs, tax, and tariffs that were discussed within the project management and operations system. It says this meeting witnessed discussions of the tasks of the diplomatic delegation that will visit the European Union countries going into the future. It says that in coordination with the Turkish side within the route of stations related to the project. So basically what's happening is Turkey and Iraq have agreements with this development road project, and so it's going to be a big transition, and it's going to obviously be part of the Prime Minister suggesting that its importance and of continuous coordination between the relevant authorities, ministries, relevant formations, and governance on the path of the road, and that these parties as a whole will deal with the development road project as a special priority for the Iraqi economy, and that they work to reduce time, overcome routine obstacles, and bypass those obstacles. They're basically saying that he rejects any case of delay given the exceptional importance posed by the path of development, its pivotal position, and its connection to all economic development sectors, and the government's plans to achieve comprehensive future economic renaissance. And if you know what renaissance means, basically, it's renew. That's my view on it. Old and bring it back to new. The Ministry of Oil, the government program developing the oil industry, supports sustainable development. Iraq's Economic Council, entitled Investment, Economy, Services, and the Private Sector. So yesterday, this was on Wednesday, there was in the presence of a number of ministers and members of the House of Representatives, officials, businessmen, and anyone that was basically interested in the oil industry, development, and economy of Iraq, indicated that their interest. It says that the government's aim was to develop the oil and gas sector through projects and contracts announced by the government. I think they're at the 6th licensing round at this stage of the game, but we'll find out more about that. But they mentioned 6th licensing round. I think it was this morning or yesterday. The role of the government in developing oil industry, including the gas sector, came about due to its importance in supporting the energy sector and sustainable development as the role of the national effort to reconstruct, rehabilitate, and develop the refining industry, massive industries, right? Stressing the government and the ministry's support for the private sector and granting it more funding. So they're going to allocate more funds to help with what? The private sector. It really looks good, you guys. Iraq Economic Council, Ibrahim al-Baghdadi appreciated the distinguished role of the government and in the ministry for implementing development projects and contribute to strengthening the national economy. Okay, so they're basically stating that this Economic Council seeks to strengthen relations between the legislative and executive authorities. Again, I brought those two key words up, and they use them again. This is on the one hand with the private sector, on the other hand in the service of the public interest. All right, the Economic Council is telling how important their work is with regard to energy, economy, services, private and industrial sectors. There are so many indicators now that show that Iraq is heading into the global stage and is setting the stage in many ways that include increased funding. So it's really looking kind of good. Let's see. Ministry of Oil, government program for developing the oil industry supports sustainable development. We've been using that word. Those two. It says Iraqi Economic Council, we just talked about, entitled Investment, Economy, Services, and the Private Sector. It says the government aims to develop the oil and gas sector through projects and contracts. It says that this developing the oil industry, including the gas sector, came about due to its importance in supporting the energy sector against sustainable development. And of course, as well as the role of national effort in reconstructing, rehabilitating, and developing the refining industry. So all of that right there is basically a reiteration of what exactly that they're underway doing. Here we have a interesting article called The Dollar Supremacy. Remember we had the development fund was shut down, and then we know that the Iraq is basically, I guess, relinquished, if you will, their right. They were to be, I guess, how am I going to say this? They were exposing themselves to debt, but we started off that they only have about 20 billion, so obviously there was a reason and some negotiations, most likely prior to Fahoud Hussein showing up into Washington, D.C. on or around the 17th or the 18th, because that's when, in fact, that they state that that's been that account's been closed, and they have the new Iraq 2 account. So anyway, it says as long as the country in the world, its companies and its banks deal in a dollar currency, it must adhere to the controls of the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve Bank. That's what, if you're going to be using the dollar and you're going to be trading oil, you're going to be dealing with it. It goes on to say that the Prime Minister is relying on the opinion of officials or financial experts, was certain that leaving the dollar area, Iraq will suffer losses of up to 30% of its revenue, its oil revenues, which prompted them to rescind the decision given the weight and position that American currency represents in the global economy since World War II, which makes dispensing with the dollar a kind of adventure. whether for large or whether for Iraq or the rest of the countries, the world is forced to buy dollars in order to finance its foreign trade. And they go on to say that despite moves being made by the Iraqi government to dissuade Washington and convince it of the importance of abandoning these sanctions, they use in quote the proverb, quote, Lord of harm is beneficial, end quote, may be correct to invoke in such a situation, which represents a good opportunity for Iraq to begin the process of financial reform, which was long overdue, and to tighten anti-corruption measures. So basically, what they did with the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve Bank, is put a new system in place that curbs corruption, and obviously it's probably not well liked by some people, but in the end, it's going to be good for Iraq. Here's another thing: is that the fields of preparation for the resumption of oil exports through Turkey. So they've tested their pipeline from Iraq's side of the border, and it's ready. It says pumping process. Iraq-Turkish line was within the Iraqi border and within the work of the North Oil Company and did not reach the Turkish border. But they say that it is now ready to transport any quantity of oil determined by the Iraqi Ministry of Oil for the purpose of resuming the export of crude oil from the Kirkuk fields. Obviously, that's massive because it's important. Why? Because we know that these guys, if they're going to pay salaries and they're going to start pumping oil, they're going to have some sort of value in those assets. And what we believe is that we're looking for a real effective exchange rate. And if they're doing all these things at the same time, I think it's awesome. It says the northern port of Qasr witnessed the crossing of the first shipment of transit. So they tested the border, tested the oil pipeline, make sure it works, and now you have a testing of what? China bringing ships into Iraq to do what? To move goods and materials through Iraq up into the Development Road Project. It says today the northern port of Qasr witnessed the crossing of the first transit shipment coming from China through the Great Welcome Square, arriving at the Treble border port with the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Before the arrival of the shipment, there was an experimental simulation of the transit operations that our staff successfully carried out in the Iraqi ports. That's pretty big, you guys. It says preparations are currently in place to carry out other transit operations from China towards Jordan and Europe, and vice versa, and from Europe towards the Gulf states, as this is considered a kind of expansion in the work of Iraqi ports. After months of security unrest that affected the navigation movement in the Madab Strait, which hindered parts of this, from now the transit operations to transport goods around the world are ready to go, from what they're saying. That's what it sounds like. And then last but not least, it says that the just an FYI, this is kind of a sidebar, but the Supreme Religious Authority, Syed al-Sistani, issued a statement about the signing of the crescent of the Shawwal for the year 1445, which is AH/2024 AD. It says that the committee, according to the scientific calculations at the Center for Astronomical Research and Studies, seeing the crescent of Shawwal will be possible with the naked eye in the Middle East, North Africa, Europe, and a large area of the American continent at sunset on Tuesday, the 29th of the month, blessed Ramadan which it corresponds to April 9th. And according to these expectations, Wednesday, April 10th, will be the first of Eid al-Fitr. So we talked about some things happening before, therefore, or after Eid, but the bottom line is that we here in the United States have a fascinating event that's going to be taking place, a full solar eclipse on the 8th, then you have Ramadan ending on the 9th, and you have Eid beginning on the 10th, which runs for about 2 days, gets you into the weekend. So it's fascinating stuff. So thanks to you again for being here with me on Saturday. And for all you folks that are new, please hit that like button, subscribe if you will, and we do have PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo for those that want to help keep this ongoing. And I want you to have a wonderful weekend. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.